Welcome to CHOPS and POPS. It is August 2nd, 2015, and of all the sights and sounds to be seen and heard, you are here with us. Thank you so much for listening here on our YouTube channel. I am Andy.
Bada boom, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Shane.
First off, Cena broke a nose, now missing house shows. And the more important and more somber sounding story, which you can tell by my tone right now, wrestling legend Rowdy Roddy Piper has passed on.
Tragic.
So, let's get to it.
Yeah, it sucks. Really sucks. We obviously just lost another great legend in Dusty Rhodes. Personally, for me, Roddy Piper was a little bit different. When we paid tribute to Dusty Rhodes, I believe it was the night of the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, the review we did where we actually talked about it. I went into a little bit about that Dusty Rhodes gave to the business, from everything from his work down in NXT to being that first real blue-collar hero, to pave the way for John Cena. The way he main evented Starrcade, which paved the way for WrestleMania. But to be perfectly honest, just from a personal aspect, the way that I grew up with Dusty Rhodes was him being an announcer on WCW Saturday Night. And then it was years later of going back and watching all those great matches with Flair and in the NWA and everything.
Yeah.
However, with Rowdy Roddy Piper, I actually grew up with the guy. He was my childhood. Basically, the first VHS tapes I had of the WWF where I was introduced to wrestling were Roddy Piper matches.
Yeah.
Beyond growing up with him, though, he was just a very, very good person. And sometimes you wouldn't really know that sort of thing when you don't know them personally. But being wrestling fans the way that we are doing this podcast, we dork out pretty hard on the business. And it's not just a matter of us tuning into Monday Night Raw every week. We do things like watch crazy shoot interviews and listen to all the behind-the-scenes stories, and we obviously know different perspectives of even somebody like Warrior, who, had this crazy story about what led to his death, and how beloved he was. There's still people that didn't like the guy, you know what I mean?
Right.
I don't think I ever heard one negative story about Rowdy Roddy Piper, with the exception of what led up to his death, that whole controversy with the podcast with Stone Cold Steve Austin and Podcast One and the ending of his Legends deal. With that put to the side, really, Rowdy was known as the nicest, sweetest person to be in wrestling.
Which makes it even crazier to consider, like, my favorite thing about the man, which is that he is the perfect villain in pro wrestling. It's what I'll always remember him for being, and he set the table for what people need to, wrestlers need to see as everything they need to do to be disliked. And he was such an outstanding person for him to be able to become the Jekyll and Hyde type of, performer.
He lived and breathed this business.
Yeah, and it was evident.
To the point where I almost feel like this is getting incredibly sad, but that he was released from his Legends deal with the WWE, 3 weeks before his death, and he unfortunately died in his sleep from cardiac arrest. Sad as this sounds, I almost feel like he died of a broken heart. I can't think of anything that would crush that man more than not being able to, contribute as a legend of the wrestling business for the company. The guy was the main event of WrestleMania 1. In terms of the contributions that legends have given to the business, Dusty gave a lot to the future. Rowdy, he helped the foundation of the WWF specifically.
Taken too young. If there was any, silver lining I could put to this, it's that he didn't really suffer too badly. He suffered from that heart attack, and then he was in cardiac arrest, and they reported that he died during his sleep, so you know that it wasn't too much suffering.
But in terms of the sadness, though, of the timing of his death, that brings it back to the Podcast One situation. That was actually his last tweet before his death, was talking about how he was going to go on his podcast, his new podcast that was outside of Podcast One, and how on Friday afternoon he was taping an episode to air out everything, that he was going to spill his heart out about being let go of the Legends deal, about the whole controversy with Stone Cold Steve Austin, about all the rumors of everything happening. He went to bed on Thursday night waiting for that moment the next day to speak his mind on everything.
Yeah.
That's upsetting, now never knowing what the man was going to say. You know? Because no matter what was going on with that situation, only he knows his side of the story. I mean, Stone Cold could talk about it. Vince could talk about it. That's their side. You know what I mean? And narration can really dictate how a story is perceived. You know? But that's talking about the actual passing. Speaking of the life of Roddy Piper, what do you guys want to say about any of your favorite matches of Roddy Piper's? And don't get me wrong, we're going to try to uplift the episode towards the end. We're going to end it on a very happy note.
Yes.
And we're going to get to the news of the week. But we obviously, this isn't just some... we
gotta
lose,
pay respect.
Yeah, we
Right.
lose a lot of wrestlers. This was a big one.
Oh, yeah.
Favorite matches, favorite moments, anything?
My favorite moment of Piper's illustrious villainous career will always be when he took a coconut to Jimmy Snuka's head
That is the moment.
during an episode of Piper's Pit. Man, he gave him a reality check, all right. And that just was, it was so indicative of the type of heel that Piper wanted to be, and he knew he could be before anybody else even thought about it. He had this look in his eyes where he just, that's a man that doesn't give a damn, and he took a coconut straight to Snuka's head, which resulted in quite the brawl. And
It also resulted, which few people remember this because they always just show the actual clip of him hitting him with the coconut.
yeah.
It actually resulted into Jimmy Snuka running into a closed door.
Yeah. That's true.
What about you, Andy?
I forget what WrestleMania it was. Maybe it was the one where he was it was like retirement match.
3.
That's where he painted half of his body black.
That was against Adrian Adonis.
Yeah.
He had a couple retirement matches
Yeah.
throughout the years.
But the first one.
Yeah,
I
the
guess.
first one.
First
Mania
one.
3.
I just remember that match when I was first watching. I remember Roddy as a kid as being one of my favorites because I liked the kilt. And as a child, I was exposed to a lot of movies that I probably shouldn't have been exposed to, such as They Live, which is a tremendous film that stars him. I recommend you see it. It is so 80s, and it is like B-horror, and it is just full of great gems, such as his infamous line, "I came here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I am all out of gum." And then he starts shooting people. Well, he starts shooting robots, but you have to see it. It makes a lot more sense that way. But that match where he was painted half black was so crazy to me, because he did this promo and you only saw half of his face for start of it. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then he just turns and he's like, "This is the hot rod," and he's just explaining how this was a different part of his personality. And then he turns and he's just half. And it's like, wow, this guy is committed to this. He is just all in. And 3 was great because it was in that huge, huge arena. So he had quite the entrance, and everyone just loved every moment of him, which was so different than WrestleMania 1 where everyone wanted to kill him. And I just love that moment for him.
And I feel like people even wanted to kill him more at WrestleMania 2 in that boxing match.
The
with
boxing
Mr.
match
T.
with Mr. T. He got disqualified for body slamming
he gave
him.
him a body slam, and it was disqualified.
Wish more boxers would do that.
It would have made the Mayweather fight a lot more entertaining with Pacquiao.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know what? When talking about his film career, it is so much bigger than I thought it was in terms of roles that he played. That I knew that he did a couple things. I I still absolutely love when he was on the episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That was just amazing. But I took the time to look up his entire list of movies that he's been in, and it's really, really long. He did a lot. Yeah. But They Live was probably the one he was most known for, I would think.
It's tremendous. It's so good. And I think they just re-released it on Blu-ray. It's fantastic. John Carpenter, one of his top 3 best movies. Other than The Thing and Big Trouble in Little China. Fantastic film.
Now, even though you mentioned the Snuka moment, did you have a favorite match of Piper's?
I've only seen this match once, and since he has passed, I've been telling myself I need to go back and watch it, but the only one that really sticks out to me the most that I don't want to go with, it might be too conformist if you want to say it, but his only intercontinental title win over he lost it to Bret Hart, but
Yeah.
Who did he beat for it?
Well, that's actually my favorite match. Well, it's a tie. My favorite match, I would say, is his match with Bret Hart at WrestleMania 8.
Yeah.
That when I speak of the VHS tapes that I grew up on, that was one of 4 matches on a VHS tape that I played till it broke, and that it was. I think it was one of the first times where, even though growing up watching Macho Man and Ricky Steamboat was just this clinic of how to perfectly wrestle a match, Hart and Piper was the first time where I really understood the art of storytelling to a match, where it was these 2 guys who went in for a fair fight. They start pushing and getting rough, and then it just gets brutal. Bret gets split open, and Piper's wanting to use the bell on him and ready to break the rules and hurt the man. And then he loses fairly and has nothing but respect for him, which in turn also I think people don't really give enough credit to Piper for building careers. That as much as Bret, had the feud with his brother and Shawn Michaels was the huge feud, that match with Piper is what made Bret Hart as a main event singles competitor. That was what shot him to the main event scene. But the other... What's that?
Sorry, I was just going to say it was the Mountie.
Oh, okay. The Mountie.
The Intercontinental Championship.
Not Canada's best export.
No.
Well, Piper was actually Canadian.
Yeah.
That's the big misconception for playing a Scottish character.
Oh, please. He wasn't Canadian.
He was Canadian.
Yeah.
Just like Michael J. Fox.
He's as Canadian as the Aunt Jemima syrup in my cabinet.
Okay.
That's not even real syrup.
But the other match, which I'm surprised you guys didn't bring up, of being one of my favorites and one of just the greatest moments ever, was the Hollywood Backlot Brawl with
yes,
Goldust. And speaking of people that he helped make careers for, that is what launched Goldust to be a star. But that match is the most unorthodox thing you've ever seen in wrestling, which says a lot in terms of, match form and everything. And it's so weird how it's so out there, yet it still connects with you and you get all of it. You understand all of it. And there's no pin. Nobody gets pinned.
No.
There's no submission. He just rips off Goldust's clothes, showing the whole lingerie tranny thing that Goldust was wearing.
Yeah.
Leaves the ring, and everyone's satisfied. Nobody questions it. Nobody nowadays I feel like people would boo and say "Oh, where's the finish? Really? That's how it ends." Everyone just goes nuts.
Oh, dude, a match like that would never even... They couldn't even fathom half of what happened in that match. I was legitimately scared during that.
I want to say that 90% of Roddy's career could never be duplicated, mainly because of what he was doing at the time. Like that whole coconut thing with Superfly Snuka.
Yeah.
It got a little...
Yeah. Got a little all in the family.
Very
and,
true. But that backlot brawl, man, I remember going... He's gonna legit hit him with a car. He's gonna.
And he did.
He did. He legitimately hit him with that car.
Right? We can't televise anything like that nowadays.
And he legitimately punched him.
Yeah,
just stiff shotted him to the skull.
Didn't he split his hand open or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was all the blood that was actually on his jeans. As a kid, I thought he had cuts on his legs underneath, but that was just him wiping his blood. But
Goldust actually tweeted out the picture or like the what was it? The fight poster from that event.
WrestleMania 12.
As soon as he passed.
Yeah.
So.
You know, my actual favorite Roddy Piper moment came recently. I was playing the game Saints Row 4, and you just start it's like you do these like weird like fever dream missions, and you start walking down an alley, and then all of a sudden you hear bagpipes start to swell, and you have no idea what's happening, and you're like, that sounds really familiar, and then you turn the corner, and there he is. There's Roddy Piper, and it's him, and it's the voice, and he's talking, and you help him like beat up gangsters, and it is one of the most satisfying moments I've had in video gaming in like a good like 7-8 years. It's God, it was everything. It was so wonderful at that moment. Just beating up bad guys with Roddy Piper.
That's what the guy did for a living. That was Piper.
True.
But I said about how he was just a good guy and how you'd hear every story as a positive one. One of the stories I remember hearing was, this is completely outside of the business, but you know the conventions that they do, like Monster Mania, I think was this weekend, like Chiller Theater, like, all those horror conventions or like sci-fi, whatever they are, and a lot of, legendary wrestlers get booked for them for the autograph sessions. I remember years ago hearing that somebody met Roddy Piper there, and they wanted the Hot Rod shirt. Mm-hmm. And I believe he was selling them there, and he sold out of them. And because he was helping sell them, he wore the actual Hot Rod shirt. It's his character, not necessarily the gimmick, but the look, Mm-hmm. And when the person got up to meet him for the autograph, and they were, showing upsetment over the idea that he was sold out, on the spot at the convention, Roddy took off the shirt he was wearing and gave it to the fan.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. People use the slogan of the man giving a shirt off his back. That was literally Piper.
Yeah.
That was the guy he was.
That's so cool.
Literally would take the shirt he was wearing and give it to a fan if it meant that much to him.
That is so cool.
I actually sat in a panel with him at the convention, and I said a few words with him at one of those conventions out in Cherry Hill. He's such a cool guy.
Yeah. He was somebody I really wanted to meet. Somebody I really wanted to find at like a convention. And, But yeah, and you know what? The very first television taping I ever went to was a Monday Night Raw in 2005. I had been to house shows and tons of wrestling events leading up to that, but my first TV taping was a Monday Night Raw in 2005, and that was the night they had Piper's Pit. It was Jericho and Carlito in Piper's Pit. Made my life.
God, I remember watching that, actually.
Yeah, that was at the Meadowlands. So yeah, at least I got that. That was pretty great. I think he called Carlito buckwheat. And that was perfect.
Awesome.
That's your Piper moment.
Awesome.
That was your reality check.
Yeah, but very sad that we lost Roddy Piper, and I promise we will end this on a good note.
We will. So the other big news story that I brought up, I almost said nose story.
Big nose story.
Kind of a bit of a slip of the tongue there, because John Cena's nose got
decimated.
It got destroyed. I'm sure you may have seen some pictures of John Cena's nose pushed a little bit to the right.
Oh yeah.
Go find the clip. It's quite brutal. It's quite a knee to the face. Yeah.
Right, yeah. It was just nasty. It was nasty to watch.
And he finished the match. He went through everything. He did it. He finished it.
Right.
How do you hate John Cena? How do you hate John Cena? He just gives it. He gives it his all. Yeah, he wins, whatever.
And that's not the normal injury. That's not something you put a sling on or walk with crutches. There's so many repercussions that can happen from a broken nose. Not just talking, again, he's John Cena, so talking about his moneymaker is an important thing. But people forget the vulnerability that you have with your nose, and that being the way that a lot of germs get in, or staph infections and that sort of thing, that having a damaged nose can ruin a lot about your immune system. And for it to be that bad for him, this is a very serious injury, on top of the fact that he had to have facial reconstruction surgery immediately.
Yeah, he couldn't. And you consider just the fact that after that had been broken, either he wasn't able to breathe through his nose, or he really shouldn't, because if he did, all of his eyes would have swollen shut.
Oh.
He was breathing through his mouth for the rest of that match, which wasn't a 5-minute, interval after that. And the commentators put that through our heads pretty quickly. If you didn't believe that it was real, that thing became real pretty quick. There was blood everywhere, and that's legit. That ain't corn syrup.
I mean, I've never broken my nose, but I get nosebleeds all the time ever since I was a little kid.
Oh.
It sucks more than people realize, the way that it shuts down your breathing, because people think it's just, you close up your nose. People forget that the blood is just like anytime you get allergies or a runny nose, it drips down the back of your throat.
Yeah.
So it shuts off all breathing. You can't breathe out your mouth, you can't breathe out your nose, although all you can choose to do is breathe out your mouth. But when it's closing up your throat, it's like suffocating. And then when you're wrestling a match and you're already exhausted and heavy breathing, that really, really sucks.
So what this means for John Cena is that we're not going to be seeing him for a while. Ain't that right, Andy?
Not until he's not scheduled to appear again until the Raw right before SummerSlam.
The go-home.
Yeah.
Before the biggest show of the summer, and it's like...
But that's the plan.
Yeah, that might not even happen.
Exactly. How do you guys feel about the SummerSlam card being shaken up if Cena's out?
I'd be okay with that. Only because to make him get better, not to rub Cena the wrong way, but I mean he's Superman. He comes back from injuries faster than normal. This isn't the kind of injury I think you can speed recover from. You can't rehab your face. No, I mean, God, I just hope he gets better as soon as possible.
Me too, and the irony here, of course, is that in an event where The Undertaker's facing Brock Lesnar, of all the wrestlers on the roster where you would say, oh, we're not going to see one of these guys until the actual event itself, it's going to be John Cena?
Yeah.
That's for real, man. He's going to be a part-timer for the time being. As far as my feelings on it, I wasn't a fan of that match to begin with. But I didn't want it to happen. I didn't want it to go down like this.
It wasn't one of the better United States title shots that he's given out.
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest killer for me, is that we're not going to be seeing the open challenge.
Wait, you mean the Rollins Cena match on Raw wasn't one of the best?
It wasn't one of the better ones. There've been a lot better.
I actually really enjoyed it, even despite the nose injury. But then that just took it to a whole different level.
It definitely did.
Poor John Cena. The face
of the WWE.
Yeah. The face that runs
broken
the place
right now
is in pieces.
A lot of images are going to be stuck in our minds for a long time, and they're going to be showing that for a while.
So the United States title is in jeopardy.
Yeah.
So while we're talking about the United States, we should probably take it to a special place in America.
We should. This is a very special edition of the America speech that I do every week. So, this past week, we lost more than just a man, more than just a professional wrestler, more than just a legend. He came to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and he was all out of bubblegum from his first moment at Madison Square Garden until his last breath this past week. He was the original heel to me. Who would dare challenge the Hulkamania at the first ever WrestleMania? A man who fears no one. He wore a kilt. He played bagpipes. He was more than the sum of all of his deeds, both in and out of the ring. A true firecracker who won't back down. Roddy Piper's music will welcome him as he strides into that well-lit ring in the sky, hopefully having a few words to those who have passed, because let's face it, Roddy was never one to sugarcoat anything. May the pipes lead you on. May the pipes lead you home.
That was nice.
It was beautiful.
Yeah. So, as sad as some of this has been, and we still live up to that promise,
It will
that we will cheer you up by the end of the show. If you listen to the end of this show, there is a legitimate, very heartwarming story coming up.
It's like watching a Daniel Bryan match. It gets the crap eaten out of him for a long ass time, but the payoff is so awesome.
It's
Promise.
always once he starts doing the backflip over the guy, it all gets better from there.
Yes.
This is that backflip.
So we have to chop some people first.
We do.
I agree.
We need to get a couple in.
We gotta hit some people.
All right. Chops of the week.
Andrew,
Me first.
please.
I could go a few different places with this. I'm going to stick with NXT. And two things that I can't stand that keep happening are the screw up with the with the divas and the monstrosity that is Baron Corbin. I don't understand. Can he not wrestle a match yet? Is that what they're trying to tell us? Is that he can't wrestle?
But he has football rings.
He
has
does.
Football ring.
Division 3 football.
Division 3.
Was it 3? It was Division. God, it's.
Oh, I
It
stopped
doesn't
paying
matter.
attention.
Nobody
when
cares.
I started
Nobody. If
talking.
it's not Division 1, nobody cares about your football team.
Nobody
that's just
cares.
what it is.
Absolutely nobody cares. And I wish I could like this guy because I love the name of that finisher. And I kind of like the finisher in and of itself. But
What is the name of the finisher?
End of Days.
End of Days.
Like that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Right?
Triple H just pushing Arnold on us
He
all
loves it.
the time.
Loves it.
Exactly. It's exactly. But, almost as important as Baron Corbin's monotony is Dana Brooke having new hair, man.
That really bothers you that much, the
It
hair.
really does. I don't dig silver hair. You look like a intergalactic stripper. Just please stick with what's natural. If you're beautiful,
What was the name of those? Remember the episode of South Park where they went to the other planet because Earth was going to get canceled, and they went to the the strip club on like Neblar or something like that. I forget what it was, but yeah, she's like one of those.
I don't understand why they got to try and fix something that is not broken, and that's why the other more natural, beautiful divas are going to succeed more. We're going to see Bailey at the top.
What about Carmella? She's the girl. She's the realest girl in the ring.
she's hot,
Bada bing.
and you can't teach that.
You can't teach that.
That's my chop.
So to sum up Andrew's chop of the week, Dana Brooke is going to put her finger in your thresher. Andy, chop of the week.
So, my chop of the week, with everything that's happened this week, my biggest problem with this week was the trailer for the WWE 2K16 game where they announced that Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to be a playable character.
If you pre-order.
Yeah. I hate pre-order bonuses because it kind of ruins games. Like, I liked it better when you had to unlock characters. Like, there was a Fight Club video game. It was god-awful. You can unlock Fred Durst as a playable character, and rumor has it, if you played it enough times, you could unlock Abraham Lincoln. That's amazing.
I heard he was a heck of a wrestler.
Wait, Fred Durst?
No, Abraham Lincoln.
Speaking of rumors, though, Fred Durst did say this past week that Limp Bizkit was asked to play WrestleMania 32. Just had to throw that in there.
I'd be
since
okay
you
with
brought up
that.
Fred Durst.
I'd be okay with that. But I like unlocking characters. I like playing a game like Super Smash Brothers.
Oh God, yes.
The new one for the 3DS. I had to play 200 matches in a row to unlock every single character. I didn't have to buy the characters. I didn't give $3.99 to Nintendo. I played the game. That's how it's supposed to work.
I agree, man. I couldn't agree more. I am not a fan of the pre-order free downloadable content deal that every system, every game, every good franchise seems to be doing nowadays. You gotta earn it.
Yeah.
You earn it by playing it.
And Arnold was in like one episode of SmackDown, like forever ago. And I know him and Triple H are best friends because Triple H, I guess, always wanted to be a bodybuilder.
You remember the entrance at Mania this past year?
Yeah, we were there. We saw it.
Bugged me.
It was not as cool on TV as it was, I guess, in person. That's and Eva Marie in the trailer. I mean, Dean Ambrose was great being Dean Ambrose, but Eva Marie is just her like, I don't even know what she was doing in front of that jukebox. It wasn't dancing. I don't know what was going on.
She can't even do that right.
Her move is the DDT, according to that thing. I don't know.
Stop
that commercial bothered me.
Stop.
Arnold looks old. They have the perfect, like, computer-generated Terminator version. I only hope they use that for the game as opposed to the current Arnold. That's it. That's all I'm saying about that. There's so much wacky stuff in the WWE, and that's what bothers me.
But the trailer was kind of cool.
It was
except for Eva.
Yeah, except for Eva.
Paige
God.
does look like a waitress from, like,
She
I
does.
could
a dirty,
see that.
dingy bar.
I could see that.
All right, my chop of the week is, like Andrew's, also going to come from NXT. I'm going to make it short and sweet. Blake and Murphy.
Who?
Exactly. I can't tell them apart. Not because they look alike. I know one's a redhead, one braids his hair like a Barbie doll or Billy Gunn or whatever it is he's going for. But I don't know which one's Blake, and I don't know which one's Murphy.
Okay.
And I'm not going to put the fault on myself because I watch plenty of NXT. I am well aware of everyone who's on the show. I know their characters. I know their personality types. And I know of Blake and Murphy. This long, they've been on television, and for a couple months now, they've been the tag team champions.
6 months they've been tag team champions.
That's crazy.
The fact that I can't think right now, okay, the redhead's Blake or Murphy, or the braided one's Blake or Murphy. You're not doing enough to either separate yourselves or give enough personality to your characters. You're just bland.
Give
You're
them
just
silver
bland.
hair.
Something. I mean, he's braiding his hair. I always know him
Yeah.
as being that weird braided hair guy, but
He, like, straightened the crap out of it, and it's terrifying.
yeah.
You know what's weird is that when I think of them and I go, there's the ambiguity of it all, which is like, okay, so NXT's got this great tag team division. Who's the champs? Blake and Murphy. Who? And then you go, if you don't even consider the titles for a second, and you just think to yourself, that tag team that's running things, it's Blake and Murphy. Wait, who? You can't connect. Like, if you were to say, like, any of the other tag teams, you would know, oh, well, yeah, they're, like, the champs, right? No, they're not. Those titles are actually held by who?
The Dubstep Cowboys.
Like vaudevillains. It's like Simon Gotch is the Charlie Chaplin. And
Yeah.
Yep.
Aiden English is the guy who married into the Guerrero family. That's
He's the gentleman.
You know them.
Just there's
Exactly.
it's established. They have established
Right.
personalities.
That's my whole problem with it. That's my chop of the week.
Get
But
it right.
let's cheer the show up. It's not the uplifting moment that's coming at the end of the show, but it is time for the pops of the week.
Okay. Not as loud this time.
Okay.
Fixed it.
All right. Andrew, you go first again.
All right. My pop of the week is on some news that has not been completely confirmed yet, but they are pointing in a good direction with our guy, The Undertaker. Why? Because this past week, on WWE.com, they started selling merchandise again.
I know where this is heading, and
do.
I don't like it, Andrew.
On the
I'm
web-
actually all. I think I made mention of this last week about how
You
this would
did.
excite me.
All right,
You did.
finish your thought, and then I'll get angry.
on the website, on his T-shirts, it says, Dead Man Inc.,
Dead man.
which means that maybe, just maybe, they're thinking back 10 years for that 4-year gimmick that Undertaker had where he rode out on a motorcycle and called himself the American Badass.
But it's his last ride, guys. It's his last
Right.
ride.
Right. It is so
The
true.
look on Shane's face right now.
All I can do is sigh. That's the general expression
But it gets
to describe my
even
feelings.
better because we are going to tie it into what Shane said earlier, that Limp Bizkit was asked to perform.
But they turned it down, and the reason they turned it down is because Fred Durst himself said he's a New Japan fan. And he's not down because I remember this actually after he said it. Fred Durst got kicked out of a WWE show. I want to say it was like Night of Champions or something, where he was sitting front row. They put the camera on him, and he gives the bird. And they just freak out, kicked him out of the show. And even though they kept up relations, they want Limp Bizkit to play at Mania, which is the biggest gig you could give him. He's not down for the whole PG era thing. But getting back to the important part, I'm not a fan of Dead Man Taker, Biker Taker, but even if he came back as Biker Taker, as much as that would bother me, I would be freaking furious if that was the way he retired.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
If he had his last match as Biker Taker,
Just picture him at the top of the ramp on a motorcycle with his back to the audience, fist up in the air.
Yes.
Lights cut out. That's
Keep
it.
rolling. No, but if there's any truth to this, my honest guess is that it's going to be a mixture, a combination, because we've already if you take what we've already seen from Taker, he's already used the entrance that he's been using, but he has been talking like a man that just wants to kick some ass, which leads you to believe that he wants to be more of a bar fighter than a guy that has to wrestle to keep up the streak, if you know what I'm trying to say.
I kind of get the idea that if the streak was broken, as much as he's already come back from that, the idea that beating the streak shows that Taker is mortal.
Yeah.
So some of that, eerie phenom stuff just goes away to show he's a human being. He's a mortal man. So that I understand. I still don't like it. The only thing I would like about it maybe is if he runs over Brock with the bike, and that's one of the ways that proves that he can beat Brock. I just...
Or if Brock Lesnar picks up the bike and breaks
Which he could.
and throws it at a kid in the audience.
He breaks the handlebars.
It's a kid with like a life-threatening disease too. It's like a Make-A-Wish. He's there, and Brock just like kills him.
No, John Cena would dive in the way.
Oh, did you see the picture? Someone edited a picture, and it was John Cena visits John Cena as a Make-A-Wish. John Cena really wanted to he was injured, and his Make-A-Wish was to have John Cena, and it was John Cena shaking John Cena and said, "Hang in there, champ."
Nice.
It was the funniest thing I've seen in a long time.
That wraps up my pop, though. Andy, what do you got?
That was an amazing pop. Bullfit. I was really wondering where this whole Bull Dempsey, he's out of shape and loves to eat thing was going, and it happened in the greatest thing ever. It was a montage. It was an 80s montage complete with sweatbands and a way too tight suit. It was so wonderful. It was so funny to me. I needed this. I needed this after this week. Normally I watch NXT on Wednesday night. I had a really busy week. I worked like 70 hours at work. I was exhausted. I woke up on Sunday, and I'm like, I have to watch NXT. I watch it, and this happens, and I am like rolling on the floor laughing because it is so ridiculous.
Personally, I think the whole thing was bullfit.
It was just so great, and I don't, it sucks that he's going to be a comedic character now, but you know what?
Whatever works.
He'll be around, and that makes me... If he's going to do that, maybe...
He's a tough guy. It'll come through with the character,
He got Funkasaurus.
Oh, God.
I wouldn't say it's that bad. Yeah.
I hope this works out well for Bull, because I love this, and I would love to see more of this.
You feel like there should be more 80s montages with
There
WWE
should always...
programming.
I feel like Chad Gable should have an 80s montage.
Yeah.
Gonna need a montage.
I see Gable, carrying the flame for the Olympics and jogging. My pop of the week is sticking with NXT. And we talked about this a little bit off the air, that you guys weren't aware of who this was. My pop of the week goes to the man that had to job to Baron Corbin this week. The reason he is getting my pop of the week is because for those of you who don't know, that was Jesse Sorensen. And I'm sure that name does not ring a bell for either of you right now, because you do not watch TNA. Jesse Sorensen was the man who was paralyzed in a match with Zema Ion back in February of 2012. Live on TNA pay-per-view. It was the... Does that ring a bell? The guy who was paralyzed on TNA pay-per-view?
The controversy rings a bell, but
Zema Ion went for a moonsault off the outside of the ring, off of the middle rope, connected with his knee to Jesse's head, jerked his neck, immediately paralyzed when he fell to the ground. Couldn't feel below the neck when they brought him to the hospital right away. I still remember the night of that. I didn't watch it live. I was actually doing an overnight at my old job, and I read about it online. And I kept refreshing and reading all the news updates, and it was starting to seem really, really bad. And when I got off of work, I checked it out, and I've never watched it a second time since. It's gruesome. Watching him try to move on the ground, he ended up having to get counted out, which wasn't the finish. But yeah, just very, very sad story. He was out for over a year. When he finally got feeling below the neck, TNA decided to give him an office job. I believe it was something to do with graphic design. A couple months after that, TNA fired him.
I remember you saying all this before.
Yeah. The guy broke his neck for the company, could have been paralyzed for life, and they couldn't even keep him employed.
They showed him the door.
Furious. Then the bright side was that Jesse got stronger and stronger. The actual neck injury he received, I can't remember I want to say it was the T1, the top of the vertebrae, which is supposed to kill you. It's not actually the part of, how you have the discs in the spine, or parts of the spine. It's actually the circle at the top of your spine for your neck that comes in 4 parts. He cracked that, and that's supposed to kill you. And not only did he recover from paralyzation, he recovered fully, and about 2 years after the injury, months after he was released from TNA for doing the graphic designing, he had a match in Ring of Honor against Tommaso Ciampa, which was really hard to watch because Ciampa really wrenched at his neck in the match and stretched him out, and it was freaking me out. But Sorensen made a comeback to wrestling. A couple months after that, he ended up saying he was going to retire and denied that it had anything to do with his injuries.
Yeah.
I'm assuming because he probably has 6-figure medical bills, and, you can only justify so much. Then out of nowhere, he appears on NXT. And as much as it was jobbing out to Baron Corbin, it was encouraging, uplifting. Again, not the uplifting story we're saving for the end of the show. Keep listening. But seeing that guy could have literally spent the rest of his life. The injury was when he was 20, 22 on TNA pay-per-view, and could have spent the next 60 years plus of his life in a wheelchair. And we just watched him last week on NXT, which WWE may not do a lot of things right, but in terms of how TNA handled Jesse Sorensen, WWE to this day still supports draws.
Yeah. Their own case of paralyzation.
So if anything, I would love to see Sorensen get some form of job with the WWE that would actually take care of him,
What name was he wrestling under?
For NXT?
Yeah.
Jesse Sorensen.
Was it really?
Yeah. So, yeah, that was a little long-winded, but my pop of the week goes to Jesse Sorensen. 3.5 years after his injury, coming back strong and not letting it keep him down.
Well, if that's not uplifting, man, I don't know what is.
We have... oh, wait, no. It's the end of the show. That's right.
Yeah, we're
All right, bye,
running,
guys.
we're running quick, so, take it easy. Peace out, Cub Scout.
But wait, there's more!
Ba-bam!
We're back.
Speed round. All right, we have a couple stories we're going to get through quick to cover the show, and then we're going to wrap things up. Layla announces her retirement this week. How do you guys feel about that?
Just stay fabulous.
Very, 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 very good. Not a Hall of Famer. Great career.
I will say, Diva's got a reputation for being the bathroom break. It was kind of around the time Layla was champion.
Not her fault.
I'm not sure. I mean, to give her credit, I'm not trying to crap on her. She's beautiful, and I thought she was beautiful when she got signed through the Diva Search. And let's give credit where credit's due. She was in Lake Cool with Michelle McCool.
Yes.
And that was a big deal for the Divas division. I'm just saying, I don't know if her as a singles competitor in the Divas division was really her thing. She had her time, Anything else, Layla?
What a neck breaker to the Bellas that one time. Wow.
I don't remember that.
It's how she won the title back from one of them. It was it was a crazy looking neck breaker. I thought she killed him. It was
Whoa.
awesome.
We're just talking about neck breakers.
We are.
Makes me feel weird.
Do you still have that yes soundbite? Yes or no?
I don't. Let me check. Can you ask that question again?
Do you have that yes soundbite?
Yes.
Okay. Hit it one more time.
Yes.
Is a bestseller on the New York Times list.
Yes.
Was it?
Yes.
It's doing very well. The book called.
Yes.
Is it going to be on there next week?
Yes.
And the next week?
Yes.
Well, the week after that?
Yes.
I'm so happy we finally got to use that.
So Daniel Bryan's autobiography did very well. I believe it was number 18 on what was the category? Sports nonfiction. Was that the name of it? Come on.
Yes.
Nobody got it, right? Nobody's picked it up yet, although we have the intentions of doing so.
I haven't done it yet, so...
No.
But will I be getting it pretty darn soon?
Yes.
Andy, do you have the book?
Do I have the
All right,
book?
This is
No.
But will I be getting the book?
Yes.
Yes, I will.
You know what I'm going to be saying? Like, the entire time that I'm reading it?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
so that was fun.
That was so much fun.
That's got to make a return.
Keeping up the speed round, Dana White.
Dana White.
He made some comments
Yeah, he did.
these past couple days over the weekend. He commented that wrestling was fake, and he outraged the entire wrestling community, including WWE World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins.
Seth Rollins went out on Twitter to respond to Dana White's accusations that wrestling is fake and saying, guys, cut Dana White some slack. I mean, he's had 1 million matches, so his opinion is super valid and should be taken as gospel. Truer words have never been spoken. If you haven't done it, don't talk about it. We've watched people die. We've watched people get paralyzed. We've watched people break their noses on live television.
Mhm.
He literally said it the week of
Yeah.
John Cena breaking his nose.
If that's
you know?
not real, I don't know what is.
Yeah. And we're not trying to knock MMA, UFC, we get it. It's real. It's as real as it gets, if you want us to use their slogan. But give respect to the company that's still beating you in ratings and in network quality. Because I don't know if you know what UFC Fight Pass is, but it's their version of the network, and it's not the same. You still have to pay for pay-per-views.
And just in general, in terms of the audience, that UFC is very casual. People just, if their friends are doing it and they're going to a bar, whatever. Wrestling fans tune in every single
right.
week and are addicted and don't go anywhere. They are loyal.
MMA is like the new boxing.
It's casual, you
Yeah.
know? But in terms of the idea of the argument of wrestling being fake, we've dealt with that since I've been 5 years old. And
For that.
a lot of people who know me know about my obsession with wrestling, and they always think that is the one thing that will get under my skin more than anything. I already know what I know. I don't feel the need to defend it. There's nothing that I'm going to say that's going to convince somebody who thinks otherwise.
Yeah.
I know the predetermined finishes, and I know about the injuries. We just talked about Jesse Sorensen with the paralysis. It's just I know what I know. They think what they want to think, and you just can't let it even get to you.
No.
But speaking of Seth Rollins, he was on The Daily Show this week. Jon Stewart is about to wrap up his whole run on The Daily Show this coming week. But Rollins was on, what was it, Wednesday night, Thursday night? Something like that.
Yeah.
Did you guys actually see it?
I saw the clip, but
saw
I
the
didn't see the
clip.
whole thing.
I saw him. He basically came out to introduce, Jon Stewart referencing other people. He's like, I like you, Jon Stewart. You didn't sell out. You bought in. He made a lot. I didn't realize Jon Stewart had it in for Arby's. He just really hates Arby's, apparently.
Oh, he's kept that up for
hates
a
Arby's.
while now.
Is it them or is it Chick-fil-A that has the anti-gay owners?
Chick-fil-A, but
Chick-fil-A.
Arby's. Jon Stewart has done the Arby's thing for quite a while. I
Mm.
don't think he's actually eaten there. It just became
You know,
like
it's
a
not
running
that great.
joke.
The curly fries are okay. That's
I love
about
the
it.
curly
The
fries.
Arby's sauce sucks.
It's
Oh.
it's
It
not good.
really sucks.
You ever see Saving Silverman?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He gets a big Montana and curly fries, and I saw that and I went, you know, that looks really good. So I went to Arby's and I'm like, let me get a big Montana and curly fries. So like, what's a big Montana? And I'm like, oh, it's not a real thing. And I'm like, let me just get a roast beef sandwich, and it was so dry and it was awful.
The best part about that scene in the movie is what happens to the Arby's sauce from that burger.
I don't even remember.
It drips somewhere.
Oh, on Amanda Pete. That's
Yeah.
right. Yes, I do remember.
Yeah.
We already talked about the Terminator being in 2K16, right?
Yeah,
well,
that
we
was
talked about
the
the trailer. and-
pop.
Let's talk about Dean Ambrose in that trailer.
Yeah.
And let's talk about Dean Ambrose's other trailer.
Lockdown. He's got 12 rounds. He's got 5 rounds. 1 round left.
I didn't like that. I didn't like that countdown at all. I expected so much more than
Me too.
that. But you know what? He kind of reminds me of like Bruce Willis and like Die Hard. Like the setup kind of feels like Die Hard. He's like trapped in a building with all these guys that want to kill him, and he's running low on ammo. It's like almost exactly Die Hard. And I like Die Hard. and
Yippee-ki-yay.
If Dean Ambrose is gonna be Bruce Willis, I'm okay with that. I'll check it out.
I'm
Unlike-
still going to give the movie a shot, but the trailer
Right.
was, it was different than what I was expecting.
My sister said the Randy Orton 12 rounds was okay.
Never saw it.
I got it for her birthday. She was really into Randy Orton. Really, really into Randy Orton. And she liked it. So, I can only assume that since I like Dean Ambrose way more than I like Randy Orton,
Yeah.
that I'm going to like this a lot more than that.
I mean, I'm keeping my hopes up. The one thing we didn't get to this week, which I talked about a lot more last week, is the fact that the G1 Climax is going on this week, or this whole month.
Right.
And we're going to keep up with it. We're going to, but we didn't want it to dominate everything because we had so much news to get to. Obviously, I had to talk about Piper, but we're not forgetting about it. And in my personal opinion, it just had its best match so far this past week. And that was between Kota Ibushi and Katsuyori Shibata. Damn.
I gotta see this, man.
Shibata.
The people who have seen it, who are listening to us right now, know exactly what I'm talking about. It was incredible. Ibushi was literally fighting for his life. And Ibushi has been one of the standout stars of the G1 Climax this year.
Yeah.
He had a great match with AJ Styles, which they fought each other for the world title, the IWGP heavyweight title. It was the weekend of WrestleMania. I remember I was in Chicago watching it when it happened, and it was really good. It was a little choreographed. There was one botch towards the end, but it was a really good match. This one tops that, and it is the match. It was kind of a dream match already with their two styles meeting up with each other, but Ibushi is really standing out. Naito is really pushing his whole heel role. He's being a bad guy, and he's really living up to it. This G1 Climax has kind of been his showcase to turn heel. And he comes out with like a skull mask now and comes out in a suit and takes his time taking the suit off to piss everybody off. It's really great. And the other standout star of the G1 Climax this year is Carl Anderson.
Really?
Who I've never been a huge fan of. I always loved the Bullet Club, and I love his tag team with Doc Gallows, but I never saw him as a singles competitor. I could totally see him winning his block and going to the finals.
Well, right now he is tied for the lead in his block, which is Block B. Leading the entire contest is Shibata. He's got 8 points. No one else has more than 6. Obviously, we explained the scoring last week, but you get 2 points for each victory. You don't lose any points for a loss, but you get 1 point for a draw, or I guess a split decision, whatever. They don't have decisions. But so just to highlight some of the scores, we have Shibata with 8. And he's leading Block A. Block B is it's a 4-way tie between Okada, Ishii, Carl Anderson, and Goto. my boy AJ Styles sitting pretty at 6 in Block A with
he's having some great matches too. Almost everything he's done has been great.
Yeah, he's won 3. He's only lost 2. One was to Ibushi, one to Naito. Shibata's only lost once, and it was to Styles, so that is something special. And if what you say is
you know what? The Styles match with Shibata was the one I was looking forward to the most on paper. And it wasn't that it let me down, but everything that I thought Styles Shibata was going to be, Ishii Shibata was.
Okay.
That high flyer versus that guy who's just ripping your face off.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I want to say before wrapping it up is the sad news, Shinsuke Nakamura got injured.
No.
He hurt his elbow and had to get pulled from a match, which gave Elgin an automatic 2 points for winning by defeat. Or not defeat.
Default.
Default, yeah. So yeah,
that's crazy to think
that
about.
sucks. But I think he's still staying in the tournament. They haven't taken him out of the tournament yet because I think he's supposed to win. Oh, that was the word. It was forfeit. That was the word I was trying to think of. So Elgin wins by forfeit. Nakamura is injured, but I believe he should be coming back in the coming days. They're up to day 9 now. We're going to keep up with it, and we're definitely going to give a lot of coverage when it gets to the finals. Last piece of the false finish before we get to the uplifting story is that the Battle of Los Angeles cards have been announced for PWG, which is PWG's biggest event of the year.
Uh-huh.
It's a 3-day tournament that takes place over the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm not going to run through all the matches because we're running out of time, but it's some great cards, and I guess we'll cover that more once it gets closer. It's going to be coming soon. But Battle of Los Angeles is the time to pay attention to PWG. And for everyone who is loyal, for sticking around to the end of the show, this is that time for that uplifting story that we were talking about. Andy, do you want to explain what went down?
So, Titus O'Neil, all-around great guy, takes a homeless couple to a restaurant, and they are not welcomed at the restaurant. The restaurant's kind of jerky to them.
I think it was San Diego. I could
believe,
be wrong about that.
I believe so. And so
Piper would appreciate this story.
You know, not to be discouraged, Titus returned with a much larger group of homeless people to feed them, and this isn't.
They were being ignored by the manager a little bit when he brought the couple, and he didn't like that disrespect.
And this isn't some, like, the WWE is not making him do this. He's doing this because he is genuinely a nice guy. And he is so, like, his heart is so big. And if they don't push the crap out of him, because this is what they need. This guy is legitimately doing good things, not because the cameras are on him, but because he wants to do the right thing.
And there's been some controversy with some of the philanthropy that WWE has done, like Conor the Crusher and all that stuff. This was just pure Titus taking out a dozen homeless people, and not just that he was doing that charity, that he already went there once with a couple, felt that disrespect, and purposely went back, not just to give them a meal, to earn them respect, so they could be treated as equals, as human beings, and did that all on his own.
A special place in heaven for guys like that.
Bravo, Titus.
Bravo.
Seriously. And we wanted to save it for the end of the show, but, I mean, the Jesse Sorensen thing is special, but truly, that's a pop of the week. That's
from all of us, for humanity, man. Way to go. You deserve to be, like I said off the air, in the second half of the card at WrestleMania. And I should call it right now. Main event of WrestleMania 33 for the championship. Titus O'Neil versus Cesaro.
Batista.
Oh, God.
But I think we're all rooting for the primetime players pretty hard from now on.
Oh, yeah.
Which I already was. But
and they're doing so much great. You have Darren Young, you know, as like this just champion of the gay rights movement and everything. Just
stands up for himself.
Like being just another great guy. Like they're just great.
They're the
great
real kind of role models.
Yeah.
Not to just play the good guy. We talked about how Hogan, you know, would tell people to take their vitamins and then was doing his party stuff behind the scenes. These are two true heroes of people you should look up to, and good human beings, just like Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Yes.
Yep. And that is a perfect way to wrap up the show. I am Andy. You can contact me here at our email, chopsandpopspodcast@gmail.com. Andrew, what's our Twitter?
Our Twitter, which debuted this past week, is @Chops and Pops. No spaces, no caps, no nothing, no underscores, no quotes, no nothing. Chops and Pops with the @ symbol in the front. Follow us. Listen to me as I say these things, these electrifying things, or really just promote the podcast.
All right.
And I'm Shane. Rest in peace, Piper. We will miss you.
So that's it for us here at Chops and Pops. Please listen, please like, please subscribe.
Bada boom.
Take it easy, Internet.